there are few new ideas I have about the whole a part of my workflow for the video is I do a general intro at the beginning of the stream that references to the end of the stream for anybody who's watching the long version. So in this section at the end of the video I do a recapitulation, and these recap videos sometimes or in the future will have a link to my website where I will publish shorter there will link to a post that will elaborate more in detail important parts from the whole stream that will be, I hope, chopped up in more shorter formats, but not always. But at least I'll have a link to one point, to one article from where I'll update if I create. So you can always reference the progress of I don't know, if I create more shorter videos from a long stream through the link on the recap video to the article that will be not a must, but could be updated and branch from there. And for this recapitulation, so I've completed step by step fully chapter. This time creating first script, was this the moment where I created first script? Project setup. And what was good going through well, of course this is perfect because with this approach, creating first script, it moves from developing with just editor visually the project. It teaches us, it taught me how to build, implement logic and grow the project using developing a script, and how to reference nodes, because the point is it would be very difficult or actually impossible to build the whole game with just the editor. It's not possible to track all the events and logic, but with the scripting and this section going, it's possible to read in the script, follow the logic. So here is the methods used. We can use this to navigate through the script code, jump around. In my case, I didn't delete any code from any step. I just commented out and left the code blocks, and I implemented for myself a to-do note to implement for this example a game switching mode from automatic movement to user input movement. So I can just remove. So at the end of the instructions of the lesson, of the course, we've ended up with the automated movement for the character, but the step before the last step, the lesson before the final lesson, was actually player controls, inputs, left and right and up. And I left that code here. Here it is on button pressed, which is no, not on button pressed, but it is like player input. So I left this code here, just commented. I commented it, but it's still I still have it in the script, so I don't need to re-implement it. And I want to expand this example with the adding let's say another button here to select game mode, whether automated, auto motion, or player input. And I already have all the code implemented, and I can refresh my knowledge from that and build further. So and also now I can use this for reference. I'm using it for a reference at the end for the summary. As I read to the script, I have comments explaining, it's not clear, it's not stripped of comments like in the tutorial steps where you just get the code. I left the comments so I don't need to browse through online materials. I've completed the lessons without errors. I didn't have problems. Actually, I did have a few problems, but I've solved it. So I'm confident that my project works and the code implemented is valid. And it's useful as it has a comment describing, at least in general, the use case for the code. At the moment I cannot just uncomment the lines and have it work because what's going on? It's everything is in the code block for the implementation on process. So what I would do with the node to do implement game modes, I will need to build a if branching logic, which code block to use in which case, for what case that would be. So I would, to extend on all this learned, to extend on this, if I switch here 2D, node 2D, for this scene, I might also add another button and connect the signal on pressed, meaning toggling the mode. And then in the implementation of the script, I could check it on process, let's say calls, whether what's the state of the mode selected, like mode, true, false, on, off, and then select what code block to use. Should it be an if, with if branching, to select which code to run player input versus automated rotation, radial movement, or some other method. So what was learned so far was it doesn't show here in the title, but okay, yeah, so creating our first script, the big chapter, setting up the project to start coding, starting project from the code, adding a user interface element, referencing it in the code, putting animation for movement, radial. Next section was expanding on that, but actually deprecating the automatic rotation move, implementing listening to player input. Very simple, straightforward, using the default user interface mapping. User input mapping, the default ones, cursor keys, user UI left, UI right, input is action pressed, and that was left and right for rotation, and if pressed up to move forward. Complete script. And then switching back to signals, we deprecated the code from this, and in my case I left it in the comment lines in the same script file. and complete is listen to player input. So this is all step-by-step chapter lessons, listen to player input and signals. And then actually creating first script, listening to player input is using signals built up on the same course. They're on the same course when starting with this scripting, creating first script. So these are creating first script, listening to player input, using signals. They are expand one on each other. While the first three chapters, scripting language, creating instance, they do more with they deal more with something else that you can see in the, or with user interface, the editor itself, that you can see in the previous stream session, day 6, I think. So this is GD learning day 7, Godot learning day 7, and now I've reached the first 2D game, and now I'll go again through this, but I'll just let myself loose because I've done this years ago, but I'll see that in the next session, probably in a few hours from now. I'll jump into that. Wow, what a summary. Thank you all for stopping by. Well, you're welcome. Now you have the audio version of the Godot official manual documentation with some, I don't know, spicy comments from my side and explanations, general, more elaborate. I have some background so I can speculate, bring my own opinions in, but code works well and instructions work well. There is one or two hiccups, but it's actually good exercise to solve the problem. What helped me most was that before going into the step-by-step, I actually just completed learning from scratch the GD script, and then it was all easier from there on, when I could fix some glitches, hiccups in the text parts for the manual and documentation. Well, without further ado, better sooner get this stream closed, so sooner I'll be back again, same day. It depends where in the part of the world we are. Switching to the outro. Stay safe, see you soon.